Hi, it's Randi Rhodes. Hope you enjoy this free clip from Political Voices Network. Stealthy, I will say. It's very, very stealthy. It was very smart. They made a shell bill, basically, that touched on so many different issues that it ended up in the Commerce Committee. It ended up in the, Government Affairs Committee. It ended up in the Veterans Committee. It ended up in 20 different committees. And because it didn't have any explosive language, it didn't have anything that piqued the interest of, let's say, doofus Kevin McCarthy or his freedom crackers, nobody even knew or noticed or objected to that bill sitting in committee for more than 30 days, which is what is required for a discharge petition. It has to sit around and not be objected to for at least 30 days. Well, this thing was introduced in January after the Democrats saw that Kevin McCarthy had to trade away everything, including the full faith and credit of the United States, to crazy people, to Matt Gaetz and to Biggs and to Gosar and to Marjorie Taylor Greene and to Lauren Boebert. He had to trade away the full faith and credit of the United States as a caveat to get rid of Medicare and Social Security, right? Because these freaks are dying to destroy America and make it, Trump land. Or, I mean, that's who they're loyal to. I hate to bring up his name, but that's what they're trying to do. Make him an autocrat, make him a king, make him, the president again. And so they want to destroy the United States and then rebuild it from the dust up. Well, this is the guy that they chose to introduce this piece of legislation. He is about as vanilla as you can get. He doesn't care that we think that about him. He is a representative from California. His name is Mark DeSaulnier. And he actually got advice from previous House, speakers and Rules Committee chairmen like Representative McGovern, how to do this, how to write this bill, and how to create a vehicle to raise the debt ceiling with this parliamentary procedure called the discharge petition.
No one looking at this had any idea that it had the secret capacity to save the country from default by being the shell for the debt ceiling.
Right.
Well, there were a couple of reporters who called me and asked, and I was truthful with them. I told them that it was potentially, from my perspective, but it was basically to keep our options open. So it was secret in so much that it was there if someone knew. As you say, these are not easy processes to follow.
Right. In the budget negotiations for next year, because, 2023 is already done, right? So in next year's budget negotiations, they can talk about cutting Medicare. They could talk about cutting Social Security. I mean, why not? That's what they want to do. So talk about it ahead of the 2024 elections. Go ahead. Have at it. Right. Meanwhile, this representative, Mark DeSaulnier, who's from the San Francisco Bay Area, he enjoys being little known. It gives him the freedom to build relationships in his own caucus and across the aisle. Now, his entire mission was to introduce this piece of legislation and make it so unimportant and so unnoticed that it could languish in committees for 30 days. He was successful. So now we're at the portion of the discharge petition where we're counting a certain number of days, and then you can ask people to sign the petition to discharge it to the floor. We need 5 Republican votes. In order to get to 218, we have 213 Democrats who will obviously say, we're not defaulting the United States, okay? It's anti-constitutional, it's antithetical, it's damaging to 66 million people on the front end. On the back end, it literally decimates every household in this country who bothered to save in 401ks or in retirement or pension funds or whatever it is. We're not going there. But we need 5 Republicans who don't want to go there. I mean, the pressure of 5 names is a lot. I could come up with, a couple of, like a Nancy Mace comes to mind, only because Nancy Mace says, oh, the abortion thing's very unpopular. I don't think we should have gone that far. I think people ought to, the Republican Party really needs to back off of this abortion ban. It's like, a lead balloon and she's pro-life, as you know, from South Carolina, but she has the nads to speak up and say, politically, this is a loser. Well, if she thinks taking away the right of privacy for women, for half the population, is a loser, imagine what decimating 66 million people right up front who rely on Social Security or veterans benefits or that's a loser too. And she's from South Carolina. So I would say maybe you could get her to sign. And then the other name that came is another one that you don't really pay much attention to, I don't think. I thought of Brian Fitzpatrick. Why? Because he's part of this, he's the co-chairman of the Problem Solvers Caucus. This is what they call themselves, the Republicans who tried to be moderate in this era of fascism, of right-wing lunacy. So I thought of Fitzpatrick. First of all, he's from Pennsylvania, which is a swing state. And number two, he's co-chairman of the centrist group called Problem Solvers Caucus. And he said, when he was asked earlier this year if he would ever agree to, a discharge petition, he said, quote, if it's necessary. So, he's so moderate, he can't commit either way, but he's an if it's necessary.